Mr. Marsh?
Yeah, something that affects all of us are these high utility rates, and they are only going to get higher with the biomass plant. We are not looking forward with this kind of energy. This is looking back to the 19th century to go back to burning wood. There are other technologies that need to be able to, we have time for those to come along while we use the cleaner, more efficient coal plant that we were scheduled to get, but we decided not to do after we invested a good deal of money in that. The second thing, of course, is the Koppers plant, because that also affects us all. And they, talking about them leaving, I don't know why this hasn't happened sooner. We've been waiting 27 years. 27 years we have had this toxic waste dump in our town, and now, suddenly, just in time for an election, it looks like they're going to be leaving. And I don't believe that, frankly, but I think that we can make them leave. I think that we can do it, but it's going to take somebody that is not going to be satisfied with another 3 years of Koppers being here. And of course, the third thing is getting focused on our budget issues, so that we're not cutting police and fire, not holding them hostage, saying we're going to need a new fire services fee. You pay for police and fire first. If you're having to come up with new taxes to pay for core services, then you're doing something wrong. So once again, we pay for those things first. We have to have reasonable electric rates once again. We will not be able to build another coal plant until we lobby the state to lift the ban on coal plants. I believe that can be done. I think public opinion has turned back to common sense.
Thank you. Mr. Selwack?
My three priorities are balancing the budget, balancing the budget, and balancing the budget. Of course, I'm for clean air and clean water. That I'll always be working towards that. But smaller government and keeping taxes low. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Angulo?
Thank you. Excuse me. My top three priorities right now are economic development, of course, environmental protection, and addressing several unique challenges that affect every single neighborhood in Gainesville. As far as economic development, I would like to introduce a proposal for measured tax breaks, along with an inclusion of perhaps an increase to our sales tax to try to tax people on an even playing field. For environmental protection, I would like to look into diversified energy resources and not just put all our eggs in one basket as far as how we're going to get energy in the near future. And addressing challenges, I would like to address some of the challenges that afflict the east side of Gainesville, such as the transportation issue, the downtown area, such as their decrease in sales and decrease in foot traffic that they have. I'd like to see how we can revitalize that area. And of course, the meals limit, which is currently a hot topic issue in that area as well. And pretty much, I feel that collectively, as a community and as a government, we can address these issues and challenges, face them head on, and come up with more viable solutions than we have currently come up with. Thank you.
Thank you. Question 2. We will begin with Mr. Lowe. The Koppers site has been an ongoing environmental problem for the community. What actions would you take to ensure the Koppers cleanup is done completely and efficiently? Mr. Lowe.
Well, I think the very first step has been taken, as I mentioned before, with the scheduled closing of Koppers and relocation of their activities elsewhere. This will free up the site for a more thorough cleanup, because cleanup while Koppers was in operation would not be a feasible thing at all. The responsible party for cleaning up Koppers is a company known as Beezer East, and the responsible agency for enforcing that is the Environmental Protection Agency. And our our role as city government, together with the county, is to work with our elected officials at the federal level and also regulatory officials at the federal level, and to bring pressure to bear for the thorough cleanup to residential standards, so it can be safely used for residential standards in the future, and so that it does not pose a risk to surrounding residences and neighborhoods. And actually, the process for a nuisance code to address this issue has begun. I am the one that initiated it, so that dust containing contaminants must be contained on the site, and this would also apply to stormwater as well. So the groundwork has been laid. There's much work to be done, but it will require someone who has the experience to make progress on this issue, to work with our legislators, and I do speak with our federal legislative delegation, so I can continue to push for a cleanup on this important issue that has perplexed city and county commissions over the years, including those who are composed of very dedicated environmental stewards. But it will require the community coming together as one to make sure that this happens. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Marsh?
Yes, well, the people that really need to have the experience to do this cleanup are the ones who will actually implement it, the ones that do it. What we've been lacking is the will to do it. I mean, it's been 27 years. It's been 6 years since Mr. Lowe came to office. So I don't know what it is that, what will that we have lacked to actually get this done in the past 6 years, the past 27 years. I want to make sure that it's not 30 years at the end of my first term. And you do that by having the will to do it. I think that, you know, it sort of smacks of, we're going to be negotiating, this is going to take time. Well, I imagine it's going to take time to do the actual cleanup, but to actually take the action to close the place down, we need to expedite that as quickly as possible.
Thank you. Mr. Selwack?
The reason why it hasn't been cleaned up in the last 27 years is because we currently don't have the technology for a cleanup. We probably need to relocate the people who are close and want to move, and we need to create home rule and fine coppers until they clean it up, and a possible eminent domain. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Angulo?
Thank you. When it comes to the question of blame, I think we need to keep in mind, and these are facts according to the EPA, that back in 1991, Beezer's East refused to sign a consent decree, while as Cabot Carbon Company, which is on the other side of the site, they did. Now, back in 1991, there doesn't seem to be any kind of involvement from the city government at that time. And the fact of who is to blame, I think it has a full spectrum, not just one company. I think the issue at hand is just to get it cleaned up, and we have the EPA, Beezer's East, and E2 Inc. that, along with the commission with the city of Gainesville, all in agreement that steps need to be taken to make sure that that land is viable and that it can be used. So I think at this point it's just a matter of holding everyone accountable, as well as ourselves, or as well as the elected officials, whatever their role was and whatever actions they did or did not take. So I think that the next step is for the city government just to make sure that all parties involved own up and take accountability for their actions and take the steps to clean it up immediately.
Thank you. Ms. Cooper?
Yes, I think as far as the coppers issue, this is the one issue that I've seen in Gainesville that everybody is on the same page with. We all know this is threatening our water supply. The whole town wants this cleaned up. But when you're electing a mayor, I think that you're looking for somebody with good and very strong leadership qualities. I do not think that experience necessarily brings good policy. And if it was easy as asking, what can coppers do to be a good neighbor, and they simply replied, or was simply replied to them that they need to leave, why wasn't this done 7 years ago? I think persistence is the thing that we need on the coppers issue. I'm a very persistent person when I know that something needs to be done. This isn't a question of leadership. And I don't think we've had the proper leadership with the coppers issue. Thank you very much.
Thank you.